Welcome everybody, and it's my pleasure to be here with you for the summer learning exchange. And this is a really exciting opportunity for us to be joining with you. EarthRanger is actually a member of the Snow Leopard Network, and we're very pleased to be commencing our first session today. So let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing over the next hour and a half. So here's the agenda. I'm going to spend a bit of time doing some introductions and learning about what EarthRanger is. Some of you may have heard of EarthRanger, some of you are using EarthRanger, but most of you probably don't know much about EarthRanger. So we're going to talk about EarthRanger. We're going to learn about how it's being used around the snow leopard range countries and in other places where people are working on big cats. And we're going to discuss why real-time visualization of your data is really important for protecting and for managing snow leopards and for managing other cats and wildlife. We're then going to do an overview of the EarthRanger ecosystem. We're going to learn about the components of EarthRanger and how it works. And then I'm going to work with Aki to give a demonstration of the web dashboard. And we're going to do a live demonstration to show you what the dashboard looks like. And we have a demonstration database that we've set up. So we're going to show you how that works. And we're also going to give you access to the web platform so that you can actually explore the platform yourselves. And you should have all received an email with a message to log in, how to log into the EarthRanger platform. If you haven't received that email, please type a message into the chat, and Aki will add you in. So all of you should have received this email already, and it would have been a message from one of our support staff who would have given you a password or a link to reset your password. So we're going to get to that a little bit later on. And then what we're going to do is we have a great case study presentation from Choidogs from the Snow Leopard Network, Mongolia. He's going to present about conserving snow leopards in Mongolia, how the Snow Leopard Network is using smart patrolling and EarthRanger and GPS tracking. So that's going to be a really exciting case study. And every time we have this session over the next 6 sessions, the next 6 weeks, we're going to try to have peer exchanges where we have users of technology sharing how they're using the technologies and how they configure it for their work. We're also going to have presentations, illustrated presentations on how EarthRanger is being used. So then we're going to have an opportunity for questions and answers. And during the session today, if you have any questions that pop up that you would like to ask, please don't hesitate to type them into the chat. So Aki is going to be monitoring the chat, and he's going to be ready to answer your questions as they come in. I'm going to be presenting, doing most of the presenting today, but Aki will be helping to answer your questions. Any question that you might have about the technology, EarthRanger, integrations, all the things that we'll talk about today. So please send those questions in, and we're happy to answer them. And over the next 6 weeks, we're hoping that all of you will be attending each of these sessions because we're going to present a different part of the EarthRanger platform and how it works. So today we're going to talk about the web platform. Next week, we're going to present mobile data collection. The following week, we're going to be talking about integrations with camera traps. And then we're going to have another 3 sessions after that. So each week we will send to you the agenda, the proposed agenda, and then you'll have a chance to look at that and get ready. So it's going to be a great learning experience, and we're also excited to be learning from you, to learn about the way that you're doing conservation, what you're doing at your sites, and how we can potentially support the work that you're doing. So the presenters and organizers today, so Byra, who you know already, um, myself and Aki from the EarthRanger and Allen Institute for Artificial Intelligence, or AI2, and Choidogs from the Snow Leopard Trust Mongolia. We're the presenters today. All right. So I'm going to open up by presenting about what is EarthRanger. Many of you may be new to EarthRanger. Some of you may have heard of it. Who has heard of EarthRanger? Raise your hand or type into the chat. Great. So some of you have heard of EarthRanger. Excellent. Good. A few of you are actually EarthRanger users, which is really fantastic. So today we're going to talk about EarthRanger, what it is, and what's the value of real-time data. So the context in which we're doing conservation, um, many of you are working at important sites, not just for snow leopards, but for other species around the world. Many of you work in protected areas and conserved areas. Those conserved areas could be community managed areas, they could be private concessions, they could be OECMs. So we work in sites, and those sites are important for biodiversity conservation. But those sites are subject to a range of threats. And increasingly, people are getting very sophisticated at figuring out how to enter these sites and to extract the wildlife. And wildlife trade, international trade, transboundary trade is one of the big issues facing snow leopards and facing all big cats around the world. And poaching often is done for other species, but ends up um, bycatching species like snow leopards that get caught in snares that are set for other animals. So it's a real issue. How do we protect our sites? And how do managers keep up to date with what's happening at their sites? They need information on where and when threats are occurring to be able to plan patrols, to be able to plan their management activities. And they need tools for collecting data and for visualizing conservation resources and staff so that those managers can then respond in real time. So that's the context for protected areas. Now, I did mention poaching and illegal wildlife trade across Asia. This is a real issue for the conservation of big cats, but also for other species. And increasingly, people are using snares and traps, and these devices are very harmful to wildlife. So, for example, in 3 countries in Southeast Asia, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam, at any one time, there are estimated to be 13 million snares open and active. And these are set for people to catch wild meat, but they indiscriminately kill animals like large cats. So it's a real issue. How can we address this threat of poaching and the trade that's associated with it? Another threat that's facing snow leopards and other big cats and other large mammals is that of human-wildlife conflict. And we know from those of you who are working in the elephant range sites and tiger range sites and the snow leopard and leopard sites and wolf sites, there's conflict between the people that live around those sites and these large animals. So EarthRanger was designed as a tool to address the problem of human-elephant conflict in East Africa. It was created about 10 years ago in response to the need for having information on where elephants are moving and where those elephants are moving in relation to settled places where people are living. And EarthRanger, 10 years down the track, there's some really amazing statistics that I wanted to share with you There's 14,000 animals are being tracked in real time around the world. Animals with a track history, 36,000 animals with track history, 11,000 rangers tracked in real time, 39 million observations of by field personnel recorded in EarthRanger, and 2.5 billion sensor data readings. And this is growing at a huge pace. So this is some of the statistics. So EarthRanger integrates with more than 150 different hardware devices and data services and software providers. It's backed by a global team. The EarthRanger team includes designers and engineers and developers and communicators, and we work across the globe. So we're all over the place. I'm in Australia, Aki's in Cambodia, and our other team members in Asia are in Thailand and China, but we have teams in Africa and Latin America and Europe as well. And EarthRanger is being used at more than 800, in fact, more than 900 sites in around 80 countries. And there's about 17,000 users. It's a massive platform that's being used by many, many people. So what is the EarthRanger mission? Our users are conservationists. So they are rangers, they are park managers, they're NGO workers, they're conservation scientists, they're students, they're researchers. Anyone who's doing conservation can have access to EarthRanger. EarthRanger is easy to use, and it's a tool for making informed operational decisions for wildlife conservation. The software works because it produces real-time data that allows you to see your animals and see your staff and see your assets, your vehicles and your vessels, and you can create information from historical data. So you can look at the trends in the movements of your animals. You can see where your ranges have been moving over the last few months, and you can create heat maps and ways of summarizing what is happening at the site. So it's a visualization platform that allows you to do data analysis. We operate by working closely with staff on the ground and making the collected data easily available for integration and sharing. And EarthRanger empowers the safeguarding of the world's wildlife. So it empowers the people who are using the tools, so the rangers, the communities, the researchers. What has made EarthRanger successful are strong partnerships. So where we work, we try to build relations with the people on the ground, the people who need support. And we put a lot of time in the field to understand what the needs are and to help design and adapt the software so that it meets the needs. We've got great support from the whole team, and we try to approach our partnerships very simply and plainly and be there to support you. So we focus on the program, and it's not just a tech project, it's really a long-term undertaking that is building across the world. And I'm going to show you a map in a few minutes to show you where EarthRanger is being used now. The other thing is that we don't need to charge anything for EarthRanger. So EarthRanger is completely free of charge. So you can have it, you can have access to the platform, and you can use the tools and the apps. It's all supported by EarthRanger, and we have great support from the Allen family philanthropies. They support the EarthRanger platform and allow us to make it available for you free of charge. So here's that map that I was going to tell you about. Here's the map showing the global active sites where EarthRanger is being used. And you can see more than 900 sites around the world. And in fact, there's a few more now. This is June, and this map was actually current as of January. So there's a few more sites there. 75,000 active users. There's a lot of people using EarthRanger every day. And you can see in our part of the world, in the snow leopard range, we actually don't have a lot of sites, and we'd be very, very keen to increase the engagement with those of you who are working in the snow leopard range countries. So we have some projects in Mongolia that we're supporting. We have some projects in Pakistan and India and in Nepal and in Bhutan, but we don't have many projects in these other countries, in the stands, in Iraq, in Iran, Central Asia. We'd love to support other projects in those countries. So what is EarthRanger being used for? Primarily, it's a tool for ecological management, for monitoring and protecting wildlife and ecosystems. It's also a tool for monitoring human-wildlife coexistence and understanding places where there's conflict, and creating information on how we can manage that conflict. It's a tool for security, for managing ranger patrol data, managing information on what is happening inside sites and how to make them more secure. It's a tool for ensuring the safety of the people who are doing the field work, to allow them to communicate and to collect data and to share that data, and for their managers to know where they are. And finally, it's a tool for monitoring the logistics, so tracking vehicles, tracking vessels, and to work as a tool for monitoring the conservation resources and assets that you're using. So I mentioned the Allen Institute for AI. This is an institute that was created by Paul G. Allen, who was a co-founder of Microsoft, and it's a non-profit organization dedicated to AI and technology for good. And EarthRanger is one of the programs in AI too. It's dedicated to open source. This is our team, more than 50 people scattered around the world, with our headquarters in Seattle. So why would we use EarthRanger? So EarthRanger, it's an easy-to-use all-in-one system. It allows you to see all your data in one place on one dashboard. It allows you to see data in real time, and that's different from other platforms that are available right now. You can see things that you're tracking. So if you're tracking animals with GPS collars, if you're tracking rangers that have a mobile device, you're tracking vehicles, or tracking vessels that have tracking devices, you can see them in real time, and you can see them on the dashboard. So this is a great tool for managers and for people who are trying to run operations. It's data-driven, and the idea is that EarthRanger is a tool for collecting data, for collating and aggregating data, and also reporting data. So you can use the platform for bringing your data together, and then you can use a tool called Ecoscope to allow you to create summaries and reports of the data. And we're going to learn about Ecoscope in the last session of the series. You can use any devices. You can use any laptops or any desktop computers, any devices for collecting data, smartphones, and you can use any hardware that you have already. You can use that for collecting for use with EarthRanger. And one of the best things is, of course, it's no cost. So the software, the training, and the support are free. So you can stretch your money elsewhere. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you an overview of the EarthRanger ecosystem and what it includes. Because there's several different parts. So the first thing is I want to tell you that you can bring in your data from many different places. So if you're tracking animals, if you have wildlife collars, GPS collars, you can bring your collar data into EarthRanger. And we have integrations for, Aki, how many different types of collars do we have integrations for? More than 60 or 70, I think.
Yeah, we have over 75 different technical integrations, which includes collars as well.
Yeah, so we have many different integrations. So pretty much any type of GPS collar that you might be using, we have a way to import the data and you can see your data in EarthRanger. Field observations, we have a mobile app called EarthRanger Mobile. This is a free download from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store, and you can configure it to collect the data that you're wanting to collect in the field. So if you had paper forms right now, we can turn those into digital forms that you can use on your smartphone. You can also, we'll talk about this a little bit later and next week, but you can collect data offline or online. So if you're out of the network, if you're in a remote area, you can still collect data. You can also track your personnel, your rangers, your field staff, and any vehicles that you're using or vessels that you might be using for doing monitoring. You can track those things using EarthRanger. And you can also integrate sensors and analyzers. So, for example, if you're doing camera trapping, if you're using passive acoustic monitoring devices, you can bring the data in from those devices and you can see it in EarthRanger. Global Forest Watch is a tool that allows you to um, get alerts when there's fire occurring or deforestation. So we can integrate those alerts, we can bring them into your EarthRanger platform. And the things that you can get out of these sources of data are lots of information that allows you to understand what is happening on the ground, getting a real-time picture of the conservation situation. It allows you to cross-check and validate reports and to understand if you have things happening that need to be taken action with. You can also create insights from the data. You can create early warnings, and that allows for rapid responses. So, for example, if you've got elephants moving around in a community managed area, you can know where those elephants are, and you can send a response. And you can also use the information from EarthRanger to optimize patrols and to enhance the safety of your field staff. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why EarthRanger is a really useful tool. These are the components of the platform. So EarthRanger is a web application. So you log in with your username and password, and each of you is going to get access to the demonstration database so that you can log in and you can see what's happening. You can also download the EarthRanger mobile app, and the login is the same login for the web as it is for the mobile app. Using the mobile application, we're going to use this next week. You're going to have a chance to see how it works, and you can make observations, you can create data using the EarthRanger mobile application. So this could be used for wildlife monitoring, for doing censuses, for doing bird counts, for walking line transects, for setting up camera traps. It can also be used for recording patrols and recording threats. Very useful tool. Ecoscope is a tool for creating summaries and basic analysis of data and creating reports. And we're going to hear about how that works later in the session. I think it's session number 6, week 6. And Gundi is a tool that allows you to bring in data from different sources using the API that EarthRanger has and bringing data from other devices. So, for example, if you've got camera traps, if you've got connected camera traps, we can integrate the data from those camera traps so that you can feed the data into EarthRanger. We're going to learn about that in, I think, week 3. Okay, so here is how EarthRanger looks. This is just a visualization looking at the demo database, and you can see that you can see historical data. You can move the slider at the bottom of the page, you can move that back and forth and you can see what happened in the past, and you can move it all the way up to the present time. You can see where things have been moving. You can create heat maps to show the concentration of activity of your animals or subjects that you're tracking. You can also see where your field staff are. You can track animals. You can track things in real time. You can better understand what is happening at the site, and you can then make decisions. So it's a great tool for doing operations. So, for example, if you're planning a survey, if you're running a survey and you want to know where your teams are in the field, you can use EarthRanger as a tool for figuring out where people are, where they're not, and then using that information to plan your survey. From a law enforcement and protection perspective, EarthRanger gives you eyes on the ground, allows you to use the dashboard as a platform for managing operations and for directing your patrol teams. So it allows you to see the landscape clearly, allows you to see real-time and historical data in one place. It allows you to integrate your sensors and bring in data from other sources. So for all those reasons, it's a pretty unique tool, and it's one that we're really excited to share with you. So this is Gundi, and Gundi is this tool, which it's a Gundi in Swahili is glue. It brings things together. It brings your data together. So you can bring your collar data or your tracking data or your camera trap data or your weather station data or data from your mobile app or data from a Garmin InReach. You can bring that all into EarthRanger and you can have it accessible. So here are a couple of ways in which Gundi works. So for example, GPS collars. You can integrate your GPS collars, which you may have on your snow leopards or your lions or your elephants, and you can import the track data and the alerts. So you can see those in EarthRanger. And then you can also bring the data in from MoveBank. So you can also import data that you might be storing in MoveBank into EarthRanger and vice versa. Another thing that you can do with EarthRanger is to bring camera trap data in. So if you have connected camera traps, 4G enabled camera traps, you have a network out there, you want to filter the data so that you know when your leopard is out there, you can set this up as an integration with EarthRanger. And we have a collaborator called Wildlife Protection Solutions. Some of you may know them. They're a small company in the United States, in Colorado. We work really closely with them all around the world to help people who are using camera traps to bring their data into EarthRanger and see their data and see that in real time. And we're going to have some examples of how this works on week 3. Another thing that we can do is to integrate data from citizen science databases. So for example, iNaturalist and eBird. If you have volunteers, for example, if you've got a project where you're working with volunteers and they're already collecting observations using iNaturalist, if you create a project, we can integrate the data from that project, and then you can see your observations from that project. So maybe you're studying pangolins, maybe you're working on an endangered species and you're trying to get information from volunteers. So you can bring the data in from iNaturalist, we can set that up, and you can then use iNaturalist as the way for collecting the data, and then you can see it in EarthRanger. And the same with eBird. We have an agreement with Cornell Cornell Labs, and we're able to integrate the eBird data so that you can see eBird's data from a particular area that you're working in. I'll show an example of that in just a moment. Another thing that we can do is to integrate devices such as InReach devices. So Garmin InReach is a satellite communicator. It works by allowing field teams to track themselves, and then the track data can be shared with EarthRanger so that if your teams are in a remote place and you're concerned about them, you can track them in real time using the integration with InReach. You can also use EarthRanger as a platform for doing two-way texting. So your teams can text you through their device to EarthRanger, and you can text them back from EarthRanger, from the EarthRanger platform, back to them via their device. It's a really cool tool. So if you're concerned about health and safety of your teams, maybe you've got wildlife monitoring teams working in risky areas, maybe you've got patrol teams working in risky areas, you can stay in touch with them using InReach. And we also have an integration for Global Forest Watch. So Global Forest Watch is a free data service that allows you to see where fire is occurring or where there are changes in forest canopy, either increases or decreases in forest amount. And you can see events such as fire events and tree loss alerts. Those types of things can be imported from Global Forest Watch into EarthRanger. So if you're interested in doing this, and we have many groups around the world who are monitoring fire, because fire is an important part of the landscape that they're trying to monitor, we can just set this up by creating a free account in Global Forest Watch. You just take a shapefile, your area of interest, put that into EarthRanger, put that into Global Forest Watch, and then when fire events and tree loss alerts are detected in that area of interest, then they're automatically pulled into EarthRanger, and you'll see them as events occurring in EarthRanger. So here are some of the devices and platforms, data services that we can integrate. And you may recognize some tools that you're using with your projects. So there are tracking devices, there's acoustic monitoring devices, there's fire sensors, iNaturalist. There's many types of devices, more than 150 types of devices and platforms that we can integrate with. And this is all possible through this incredible team that we have, an engineering team that's working pretty much 24/7. Somebody on the planet is working on EarthRanger development at any hour of the clock. And those people are working really hard, and they're creating an amazing service that allows you to essentially do anything you want with your data. Right. So we have talked about how data comes in to EarthRanger, and let me tell you a little bit about what we can do with the data once it's there. So we have a tool called Ecoscope. And Ecoscope has been created as a way to summarize patterns in your EarthRanger data. So it can take your tracking data, it can take your patrol data, it can take the data from the observations from patrols or observations from your wildlife surveys, and allows you to then create visualizations so you can summarize what's going on. So, for example, you can create a summary of your elephant home range data, and you can create heat maps to show where animals have been moving. This allows you to analyze trends across time and space, allows you to connect daily operations with long-term monitoring, allows you to adapt strategies based on data and results. You can operate and report beyond a single site, so you can use EarthRanger as a tool for sharing data across a network of protected areas. And this is happening in many countries. There's 31 countries around the world that have elected to use EarthRanger as their platform for reporting across the national networks of sites, including Kenya Wildlife Service as an example. So this is a great tool for managing data across networks of sites. So these are the kinds of dashboards that you can create using Ecoscope that allows you to summarize data from subjects that you might be tracking. So subjects can be animals, some subjects can be patrol teams, subjects can be vehicles. So you can create visualizations, heat maps, you can create activity patterns for your animals. And here's an example from Mali of an analysis of elephant data. You can then create charts and pie charts and um, observation maps so that you can see what is happening to the things that you're observing. So, for example, if you're out there and you're recording observations of wildlife sightings or tracks and signs, you can summarize where those observations have been made, and you can create heat maps to show where those observations are concentrated. We can also do things like patrols analysis. So you can create workflows about patrols and patrol data. So you can take the track logs from those patrols and you can understand the places where patrols are happening and where the gaps in patrol coverage are. You can also create information on how frequently patrols are happening, and the time and spatial distribution of patrol effort. So this is good if you're trying to monitor protected areas. Great. All right. So I'm going to stop there and open up for questions. If anybody would like to ask a question, please turn on your mic and please ask away.
Hey, Tony, can you hear me?
Yes, Aki.
So there are a couple of questions. I'm going to quickly read them out for you. Is that okay?
Yes, sure.
Fantastic. So we have a question about using messaging from EarthRanger. I believe this refers to InReach. Could you talk a little bit about how does messaging work? Thank you.
Yeah, good. So we'll actually show that in the live demo in just a few moments. But yes, so the way it works is that if you have a Garmin InReach device and you have a subscription, you need a professional subscription, um, which costs about $35 a month, I believe. There's various different types of subscriptions based upon where you are in the world, and roughly it's about $35, I think. So if you have that subscription, that allows you to then integrate with EarthRanger, and then you can use EarthRanger as the way to track those devices, so you can see where those Garmin InReaches are. You can also use the texting facility in the InReach device so that the person in the field can text you and you can receive the messages in EarthRanger, and it appears as um, a little field in the EarthRanger app for the subject or the person who is being tracked. So you can then see the message that's come back from the InReach device. You can see it on the EarthRanger screen, and then you can actually type a message back and you can return the text. So that works. It's two-way texting via Garmin InReach. I hope that answers your questions, and we can show you how that works a little bit later.
Fantastic. Just a quick one before we move on. Aristo is asking, can EarthRanger also integrate wildlife crime seizure data?
Yeah, good question. So we have several groups that are doing wildlife crime analyses, and they've started to use EarthRanger as the way to assemble their data. So, for example, data from seizures, data from poaching incidents. So it's possible to bring in historical data that you might have collected already and see that in a visualization in EarthRanger. You can also use EarthRanger in an operational sense for wildlife crime interventions. And we have a couple of groups that have started to do that. There's one group in India that has just started to do that, and one group in Sri Lanka that has started to do that. And there are groups around the world in Africa and other places that are also using EarthRanger for wildlife crime monitoring. And with Ecoscope as the tool for summarizing data, summarizing events, wildlife crime data analysis should be possible and should be actually a really interesting thing to do with EarthRanger. So yes, there are many groups using EarthRanger as a tool for wildlife crime projects, but especially projects involving the protection of the wildlife at its source. Hopefully that
Fantastic.
helps.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really excited to hear more.
Great. So keep those questions coming through, and just keep them coming into the chat. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go to a live demo. This is a demonstration database that we've created for you so that you can see how things work. And you're going to be using this over the next few weeks. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the session, each of you has been given access so that you can log in and see this database. So this is what the EarthRanger platform looks like. It's a dashboard that you log into. So the important thing is if you're trying to see the data, you need to have an internet connection. You can use your mobile device for collecting data offline, but to see the whole picture, you need to have some kind of internet connection. So usually that occurs where you're at a research station, or you're in your office, or you're in the university, or you're in the protected area ranger station, or your ranger base. So those are the places where you're going to be able to use the web platform. So you do need to have an internet connection. So once you've got the internet connection, you can log in. And so what we're seeing here is just a sample site that we've created for the purposes of showing you how things work. So you're going to see data in here that is not real data. It's data from other places, and it's just been recreated for the purposes of showing you how things work, okay? So we're not actually showing real locations of endangered species. We wouldn't want to do that. So the first thing is when you log in, you see a map, right? So there's various different ways in which you can create a base map. So the default is that we have this terrain map, but we can actually change that. We can have a Google satellite map as our base map. We can have a Mapbox satellite map. We can have Esri satellite map. So depending on what you've been using, what you're familiar with, what you like, we can add in any base map that you want so that you can see the data against the backdrop of what you're familiar with. So we can create any base map that you might want. And if you're working at sea, if you're doing marine patrolling, if you're working in a marine area, we can also show you what the sea looks like under the surface. So we've got a bathymetry map that you can see. So that's maps. Then you can also use the little icons here to pick a location and to place markers. And then you do things like measure distances. So for example, maybe I want to measure the distance between a point, and I can measure the distance. There we go. So I can click on a point and then I can measure a distance. So maybe measuring the distance from the core out to the buffer zone, and I can get some information on the bearing and the distance. So there are these little map tools that you can create. The other thing is that we've got a time slider. So if you want to see what happened in the past, you can move this back and forth. So by default, I think it's 3 weeks that we get, and or that's a month. So I've got a month of recording, and I can move that up to the present time. So that's the time slider. So for example, if I'm looking at something like an animal that I'm tracking. Maybe I've got some animals that I've been tracking. And let's have a look over here. We've got a snow leopard. So I've got a snow leopard here. And just to reiterate, this is not real data. This is not current data. This is not an animal that is where that is right now. It's data from a different place that's been recreated here. So imagine we've got this animal here, and we want to see its tracks. We can actually see its tracks, and we can then oh, so that one actually hasn't been moving. Let's try a different one. Okay, let's try. So these ones don't have, there we go. So that one, that has been moving around, and we can then use the time slider to move back in time to see where it came from. Yeah. So there's what happened all the way back 1 month for that animal there. And so we move it back this way, we can see what happened. All right, so if you've got a collared animal, you can see things uh, in historical time. And this is a really cool tool that allows you to recreate what happened to your animals or things that you're tracking. So that gets me to the next thing, which is that we can track what we call subjects. So subjects are things that move. So subjects can be animals. They can be, for example, maybe we're tracking snow leopards, maybe tracking vultures. Subjects can be things that we are monitoring that are moving around, like patrol teams. So subjects are things that we track, and we may want to highlight those things. So let me just select another type of tracked subject, what we call subjects, and let's look at these vultures. Here's a vulture, and this vulture has a registration number, an ID number. I'm going to click on this little button here, and it's going to take me to where that vulture is. And there I can see it. And I can see where it is right now. I can create a heat map to show where it's been. And I can get information on where it's been in the last few weeks by moving this time slider back. And so if we move this back, we can see this bird was around about this time, and it's been there ever since. So subjects can be anything that we're tracking. So it could be animals that have collars on. It can also be patrol teams. So for example, maybe we have some patrol teams. And let's go and see what this bloke here, Tony Lynham's been doing. So let's click on him, and let's figure out where Tony Lynham's been. So Tony Lynham has been goofing around in this place here in Sri Lanka, in fact, as it turns out. This is almost real data, but it's from last week. So we can see where Tony Lynham, the ranger, has been moving. We can also click on his track log and turn his track log into an activity pattern. So we can see where Tony was moving and the time at which he was moving. We see that in the color-coded track log. So that's pretty cool. So we can then understand the activity patterns of the things that we're tracking. So, yeah, so rangers can be tracked, can be subjects, field teams can be subjects, and animals can be subjects. And let me just go back to the example of the snow leopards. So now I've got my eyes on this snow leopard here, and I've turned the track log into a color-coded track log, so I can see when that animal was moving during the day. We can see that early evening was this animal was moving. Actually, he started moving during the day, and he moved all the way through the night into the early morning. So we get some information on what the animal has been doing. So that's subjects. And then I want to show you about what we call events. So events are things that we record, and events are things that are recorded either by our teams out in the fields. Maybe they're using EarthRanger Mobile. So for example, maybe somebody is doing some observations using the app. So here's an example of a spore that's been recorded. And this is a spore that was recorded, and we got some details of the spore. It was a footprint, and it was fresh. And here's the location, the time, and the date. And we can zoom into where that is. And this spore was actually recorded right in the middle of Kathmandu, of all places. And if we go there, that's where the spore was detected. And we can see, there is the spore, and we can see all the information from the photograph there. So using this is an app collected event. So it is some tracks that was detected, and the information on the tracks was recorded along with a photograph, and we get the location of where this particular observation was made. So this was actually a patrol. This was a spore that was detected as an observation on a patrol in Shivapuri National Park. So here's the example here. This is the patrol. It started at this time and ended at this time. And there were a couple of things that were recorded. One was spore and one was a live animal. We can also go to that live animal observation. We can see what happened there. So events can be associated with patrols, and events can also be just recorded as incidental observations. So other types of events can be things that automatically come to EarthRanger. So for example, maybe we have an integration with iNaturalist. And so when animals are detected by an observer who is not from our team, maybe it's a community member, it's a volunteer, that data can also be integrated. It can be brought into EarthRanger, and we can see it. So I'm just going to click on that one. There's the observation of an Asian common toad, and there is where the observation was made, and we get this information from iNaturalist, and there's a picture of it right there. So this is an event that's recorded in iNaturalist and brought into EarthRanger via the Gundi service. And then we can use the data, we can export it, and we can play with it. We can summarize the data if we want to. Okay, so events can be recorded on the app. They can be data that we import from a data service like iNaturalist or eBird. Those are events. And another thing that we can record as events are things that happen. And we're going to learn a little bit about analyzers. Analyzers are things where one thing happens in relation to another. So for example, maybe we want to know when a snow leopard is close by. So if the snow leopard has a collar, we can know when it comes close to the village by creating an alert that tells us, okay, there is a snow leopard nearby. In this case, these are two ranges that were in proximity to each other. One is this one, Yun Wu, and the other ranger was this person, Elian. So what has happened here is that these two subjects were in proximity to each other. And if we click down here, this is where that event happened. There it is right there. So this happened on the 6th of June, and Yun and Elian were operating in a similar area, and so they were in proximity to each other. So you can imagine this might be interesting if you're doing analysis of your animals. If you've got a number of animals that have collars on, you want to know when one animal is close to another. Maybe one animal is a prey species, one is a predator. You want an alert that tells you when those animals are in proximity. You can create that alert, and that comes into EarthRanger as what we call an analyzer event. So events are things that are recorded and they appear in a list here. And once an event is recorded, it stays in the database. And if we are happy that this observation is no longer needed, we don't delete it, but we can say, okay, I've seen that, and now I'm just going to record that as being resolved. So when I click the status and change it to resolved, then that event does not go, and I save it, then that event will disappear from the list. Oh, I'm not sure what that means. Okay, so I'll just discard that change. So events can be things that we've seen if we've seen them and we've acted on them, for example. So for example, here, this event here, the subject proximity alert, I'm going to say it's resolved and then save. So then it goes away. So it disappears from the list. So events can be things that are observed in the EarthRanger mobile app, recorded in the app. They can be data from another source. They can be camera trap data. And on the third week, we're going to learn about how to import data from camera traps. We're going to have an example, a case study that's presented to show you how that works. And hopefully our case study is going to be from Sri Lanka. It's going to be a really cool presentation that you'll see. Great. So we have covered events and we've covered subjects. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about patrols before we hand over to our speaker tonight. So patrols are another type of thing that we can record in EarthRanger. So for example, if you're out there doing a patrol for any purpose, the patrol could be a law enforcement patrol, could be a wildlife monitoring patrol. You can record your patrols using the EarthRanger mobile app. So here's an example of a foot patrol that was recorded, and we can go to where that patrol happened, and then we can switch on the track log and we can see where the patrol happened. And we can also zoom right in and we can see observations that were recorded on that patrol. So for example, there was an arrest that was made on this patrol that was tracked by Mohan Shrestha. And if we zoom right in, we can actually see the information that was recorded. So this is a patrol that was done a few weeks ago, and we get the information on the distance of the patrol, when it started. Apparently it hasn't stopped. So there's a patrol that's active, I believe. Yes, it's still active. So that is actually in process. So this is a patrol that's happening right now. So if you're the manager, you know that this patrol is active. It's happening right now, and there's no end date and time, so we can actually see it in real time. If the ranger has a network, so if the ranger has a network and he or she is using his or her mobile device and they've got a network, then you'll be able to see where that ranger is and where they've been tracking to. Okay, so that is very quickly events and subjects and patrols. And so I've given you a very quick overview of what the platform looks like. So now what I'd like to do is I'd like to invite our speaker. Oh, first of all, do you have any questions before we move on? Do you have questions about what I presented here?
Just
Feel
one
free to.
quick one, Tony.
Yep.
Could you talk about data privacy in EarthRanger? There's a question about from the users about where their data would end up.
Yeah, sure. So the data in EarthRanger is your own data, and it's in an URL it's in the cloud. The data is stored in the Google Cloud, and it's accessible only by you. So when we set up EarthRanger, we set up a unique URL for your project, and you get access to it along with the people that you ask to be added in. So you are the users, and only you can access the data. So the data is 100% yours and only accessible by you. The data is stored in the Google Cloud. So hopefully that quickly gives you an idea of the data privacy. We also have a policy on how data is managed and who is allowed to see it. So, for example, maybe you're concerned about EarthRanger staff getting access. We only access the platform if you tell us, I've got an issue and I need help. And at that point, our support engineer will say, okay, I'm going to fix this issue. And then they may log in and fix the issue. But other than that, we don't access the data. We don't use the data at all. Hopefully that answers the question. And please, if I haven't answered the question, then please type in the chat that you've got something else that you'd like to additionally ask. So what we'll do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. And I'm now going to invite Choidog from the Snow Leopard Trust Mongolia. Choidog is going to give a presentation about his project and what he's doing at the Toast Nature Reserve, and it's a really exciting project.
Hi everyone. We are not using these tools to their full potential yet. And but today I would like to send some case studies on how the Snow Leopard Conservation Foundation currently applies this conservation technologies in our research and conservation programs. The red polygons on the map show the location managed by our partner communities. Currently, the Snow Leopard Conservation Foundation works with 32 local communities to implement 8 community-based conservation programs alongside long-term Snow Leopard research in South Mongolia. Out of this, our community ranger patrols and long-term research are the ones using this technology most. To keep our volunteer rangers active, we provide regular training and clear guidance. We also supply essential equipment, field clothing for and patrol fair time, patrol pole, and reward. Keeping our rangers engaged and motivated is absolutely critical, as their dedication is directly linked to how effective we can deploy and use these technologies in the field. On the screen, you see Toast Nature Sorrow and our 7 partner community responsible area. When we started using Smarting 20 and 19, we used paper sheet and handheld GPS devices. It was difficult to use regularly in ranger patrols. We spend so much time downloading data, typing it and fixing some mistakes. And as you know, rangers and researchers error happened a lot. Then 2023, we switched to smart mobile and smart connect. It made our workflow so much easier, boosted ranger activity, and collect us accurate, error-free data. And when we first used Blackwave Ragged Phone, this Blackwave Ragged Phone, we had a big problem. The ranger's tracks kept turning into a straight line, and the ranger's lines. We tried fixing the settings, but nothing worked unless the phone screen was always turned on. In 2024, we switched to 2G rugged phones, which drastically reduced these tracking errors. This case highlights how much mobile phone hardware and brand choice can impact data accuracy. And additionally, these rugged phones feature powerful batteries that perform exceptionally well in Mongolia's harsh and extreme weather conditions. On average, our rangers patrol about 10 hours and cover 120 kilometers every month. They collect data on human wildlife conflict, environmental crimes, and natural resource. Mostly they record wildlife sightings. This regular patrol data actually has great potential for monitoring wildlife in often habitat. This slide shows our long-term study on snow leopard free. Since 2012, we have been using the double observer method to monitor argali and ibex population. Last year, we started using the smart patrol tool for this fieldwork in Toast. Just, just like with our ranger patrols, it has completely eliminated that data errors and misnotes, making data sharing and management much faster. Here you can see the patrol track and data visualization on both smart desktop and smart mobile. Smart allows users to easily upload and overlay their own custom map layers. This is super helpful in rugged mountains because it gives field teams clear maps, routes, and compass and other navigation markers such as uh, water hole and some herder location. Also, with the double observer method, two observers must cross-check data right after finishing the route. This visualization tool makes that process very easy. This slide shows another example where we used the smart program to conduct lowland ungulate field. So across two different national protected areas using a distance sampling method. As you can see, the technology really simplifies our fieldwork. The key advantages include easier data entry and significantly reduced time spent recording observation. Furthermore, for large-scale, long-term research, it vastly reduced paper consumption. Another major benefit is that Smart is fully translated into Mongolia, making it incredibly user-friendly and useful our local and national protected area rangers and citizens. Here is an example of single dashboard that integrates various ranger patrol observations collected in smart. It displays conservation target species and live tracks of GPS color, ibex, and snow leopard, and wildlife conflict, wildlife conflict observation. I find this setup highly effective, especially for improving surveillance in high conflict areas and controlling real-time data. It perfectly allows users to consolidate it and monitor all the critical information they need in one dashboard. This is how we use it post this data on the Ecoscope platform. It makes it easy to see results from colored snow leopards like day and night movement and home range and age or sex comparisons for between individuals. We have only tested this on trial basis, and I hope we will get more training on it during this workshop. This reflects the current status of how we combine EarthRanger and smart programming our operations. Moving forward, we use camera traps to survey snow leopard population in Tost and the surrounding mountains. You can see detailed information about the study, our study summary results in table. The points on the map indicate the location of the camera traps and the orange lines indicate the study areas. The study areas belong to the Gobi National Park and Postosumombo Nature Reserve, while Noyum Mountain remains a non-protected area. There are 230 trap sites covering approximately 11,000 square kilometer area per year. In short, we are collecting a massive volume of metadata to easily manage and analyze and integrate this data into EarthRanger. We are planning our next steps. However, achieving this will require several challenges, difficulties, and preparations. Mainly, our biggest challenge is the network solutions and connectivity in these remote areas. Currently, our understand cameras just store photos on SD card. To fix this, we need to upgrade our setup by replacing our old camera traps hardware step by step with connected ones. Once the network and cameras are ready, we can use proven AI platforms like Wildlife Protection Solution or Wildlife Insight. This will allow us to automatically identify snow leopard and human activity, get real-time alerts straight into our EarthRanger system. We would like to express our deepest gratitude to International EarthRanger team, as well as the Mongolian and International Smart Development teams for providing these technologies that streamline our research and conservation efforts. Also, we are profoundly grateful to our long-term partner, the Snowflake for Trust and the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change and the National Protected Areas Area Administrations. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Choidog. What a great presentation. And we can see the integration of different technology tools and how you're using different tools for different purposes and bringing all the information together. And it's just a great example of how conservation scientists in the snow leopard range are doing really incredible things to manage their data. So thank you, Choidog. Okay, so I have a question for Choidog. So Choidog, I know that you're using a lot of uh, uh, you're using the tools, both Smart and EarthRanger, in remote places. In many of those places, people are speaking the local language in Mongolian. So how are you adapting those tools so that people can use the technology?
Yes, I think it's possible to we use these technologies and we need to develop this platform. We need time.
And are you using the tools in Mongolian language?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when you're integrating the tools like Smart and EarthRanger, there's got to be um, some some customization. And obviously, you've learned how to use both these tools, and um, you can integrate the data sources. And one thing I wanted to mention is that with EarthRanger, it's possible to import smart patrol data. So you saw from Chodog's presentation that he's using Smart for recording patrols, and you can integrate the data from Smart. If you're using Smart Connect, we can set up an integration so that the Smart Patrol events that are recorded on the Smart Patrols imported into EarthRanger, so you can see those events on your screen. And those events are one of the event types that you will see in the list there in EarthRanger. Great, thank you, Choidog. Great. So I'm going to hand back, because I think we're at time now. I'm going to hand back to Byara to finish up here today. Byara?
Yes. It was such an interesting session. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Chodik, for sharing your experiences as well. So I just want to, before wrapping up, I just wanted to have a few housekeeping items. So after the 6 sessions, SLN and EarthRanger is going to award certificates to the participants. So I encourage everybody to have the names known in your display. So the certificate is awarded mostly for those who participated in most of the sessions. So those things I would like to mention here, and then along these sessions, if there is anything we have to alter and change, we'll just let you know. So thank you, everyone. It was such a wonderful participation and then such a wonderful session. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. See you next week.